road to WrestleMania is 2 months long, the kids ask for a pit stop. It doesn't matter how many times you told Austin Theory not to get the extra large big gulp, he's been asking for a wee since the Royal Rumble. Thankfully, there's a perfectly good Elimination Chamber here with 4 very convenient cubicles. Okay, I don't like where this bit is going, so we're gonna move on. The Elimination Chamber has become the stopgap between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, with the show of shows' biggest matches being set up in the box of boxes. The ideal scenario would see both the Chamber match and its Mania counterpart reach the highest level of quality possible. But more often than not, one component of that equation doesn't fulfill their end of things. I'm Tempest, hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are 5 great Elimination Chamber matches that led to horrible WrestleMania matches, and vice versa.
Hey Luke, notice anything different about me?
Are you wearing new glasses?
No.
Hold on. Are you wearing a wig?
It's not a wig, Luke. It's a miracle and it happened to me overnight.
That's not how hair works, Pete. Stop lying, you lying liar.
Don't say that to me, Luke. It hurts my feelings and the feelings of my brand new hair.
That's not how hair works, Pete. Hair doesn't have feelings.
Yes, it does, Luke, especially when you make a deal with a magical fairy to get your hair back.
You made a deal with a magical fairy for your hair to have feelings?
No, Luke, that would be ridiculous. I made a deal with a magical fairy to get my hair back, and then they said the only way I could have my hair back was if my hair had feelings. It's the only easy way to have hair nowadays.
How can it be alive, Pete? What's it even eating?
It's consuming the life force of my scalp. It's the only easy way to regrow your hair.
Have you tried Nutrafol?
Nutrafol?
Yes, Nutrafol. Nutrafol targets root causes of compromised hair health at every stage. With Nutrafol, you can see results in 3 to 6 months and has 11 clinical studies that prove its effectiveness. It's the #1 recommended hair growth supplement brand by dermatologists. You can click the link in the video description and use the code PFK to join over 1 million people who are growing with Nutrafol.
Wow, Luke, that sounds really good. I'm gonna have to give this a try, but how do I get rid of this magical hair now?
Oh, I'll give it a go. Just grab it like this.
Ow!
Okay, right, we're gonna need to brace.
No, this is so much pain! This is the worst pain I've ever felt in my life!
Number 5 worst chamber match that led to a good WrestleMania match. CM Punk wins, faces Chris Jericho. The first bad chamber match that produced a good WrestleMania match on our list came in 2012, and right off the bat, bad might be a bit of a strong word. The WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match in 2012 suffered from a particularly weak field of main event competitors. Not in terms of the quality of their work, but you look me in the eyes and tell me that one of Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, or R-Truth was going to win the WWE title a month before WrestleMania. CM Punk and Chris Jericho rounded out the field, but Jericho's bizarre elimination, or lack thereof, put the final nail in the coffin of this forgettable chamber match. However, we then closed the book on that negative chapter and reopen on WrestleMania 28 and the WWE Championship singles match between Punk and Jericho. If you weren't a fan of the over-the-top drama of The Undertaker vs. Triple H, then this was probably your favorite match of WrestleMania. The action is fun and befitting of the grandest stage of them all, and even though the stuff about Punk's family takes up a bit more focus of the match than it needed to, this is still one of the best nights of CM Punk's 434-day reign as champion. Number 5 best chamber match that led to a bad WrestleMania match. Austin Theory wins, faces John Cena. Back when the United States Championship was the default title up for grabs on Raw, you got matches like this with top guys and up-and-comers alike trying to grab the gold before WrestleMania. While the stakes feel lower because the US title does indeed mean less than the world title, despite what WWE tried to tell us, the match itself was brilliant. Unsurprising, considering the idea behind this match was let the likes of Seth Rollins, Chad Gable, Montez Ford, Johnny Gargano, and Bronson Reed cook on pay-per-view for a half hour, but the downside of the match was that Austin Theory had to win it. Not only because it elongated the dreadful title reign of Theory, but also because it set up his WrestleMania 39 stinker against John Cena. I've spoken about my disdain for this match before, but I genuinely don't think you could have booked a lamer start to WrestleMania if you tried. Between the basic heel finish and the sad truth that John Cena is several years past his prime, this match did nothing to make Theory's character or his title win palatable. Number 4 worst chamber that led to a good WrestleMania match? Randy Orton wins, faces Daniel Bryan and Batista. What What you will notice about many of the worst Elimination Chamber matches on this list is that they don't even get that bad half of the time, but rather, with the matches taking place so close to WrestleMania, more often than not the world title scene is pretty crystal clear, resulting in a particularly unstimulating experience. In the case of the Lone Chamber match in 2014, we simply knew that Randy Orton was not about to lose the title, and after 6 months of the Authority trying to keep Daniel Bryan away from their precious cummerbund, seeing it again just wasn't interesting enough to warrant this chamber match. The work from the likes of Christian, Cesaro, Sheamus, and Bryan was very good in this match, but it lacked any of the urgency that would have gotten fans invested. I feel like this was less WWE's fault, and they clearly learned from this a bit, as the chamber was removed from the Road to WrestleMania itinerary for 3 years after this. But the positive side of this forgettable match was one of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time. WWE may have been dragged kicking and screaming to that main event, but that will never change how great it was. Orton's win in the chamber set him up to face off against Rumble winner Batista and ultimately Daniel Bryan, who would cap off his story in the way he couldn't inside the Elimination Chamber. Number 4 best chamber that led to a bad WrestleMania match? John Cena wins, faces The Miz. It may not have been the best Elimination Chamber on that night, but John Cena's win in 2011 was still the conclusion to a very good match. The match that came just weeks later at WrestleMania 27? Not so much. The 2011 Raw Chamber had the highlights of John Morrison at his very best, dropping from the top of the cage to eliminate Sheamus, CM Punk looking like Wolverine stabbed him in the ass after taking an AA on the grated floor, or Punk somehow getting half his body stuck in his pod. It is a fun little match, but unfortunately John Cena did win it, and we all know what happened next. We know what happened because 13 years later, The Miz will not shut the up about having one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time. Even on paper, I don't know who thought The Miz versus John Cena would be suitable for the Bash in 2009, let alone the main event of WrestleMania. But this match was so much worse than even the lowest of expectations. They had lots of time cut, their chemistry was non-existent, there was constant interference from Alex Riley, then a double countout finish, an email, a concussion, and The Rock costing Cena the match. Honestly, I think this match makes me like that chamber match a lot less. Number 3 worst chamber that leads to a good WrestleMania match? John Cena wins, WrestleMania 22 ensues. Before the days of the chamber standing in the way of WrestleMania, the chamber started WWE's calendar year with Satan's structure main eventing New Year's Revolution in 2005 and 2006. I personally loved the 2005 chamber match, but the 2006 match, again, this one isn't a horrible match, but in a match with Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, Carlito and Chris Masters were the 2 featured challengers, and that just wasn't cool. What was cool, however, was what followed, as this chamber was merely prelude for the first ever Money in the Bank cash-in. Edge wins the title for the first time, boinks Lita on TV, a tale as old as time. Perhaps more indirectly than some of these entries, this subpar chamber set a lot of matches in motion for WrestleMania 22, which is honestly one of the more quietly excellent manias out there. Cena's chamber win set him up to eventually defend his ugly-ass belt against Triple H in a solid main event, but more importantly, the chamber set up Edge to have his Mania-stealing match with Mick Foley. Number 3 best chamber that led to a bad WrestleMania match? Edge wins, faces John Cena and Big Show. No Way Out 2009 is a fantastic show. It may be a 2-match show, but they were 2 fantastic matches. WrestleMania 25 was a bad show, highlighted by its dreadfully boring world title matches. More on this at 11. The World Title Chamber at No Way Out 2009 was part 2 of the show's Edge double feature, with the rated R rat bastard stealing Kofi Kingston's spot in the match and ultimately winning the World Heavyweight Championship. The match getting there is one of the best chambers ever, with Edge, Rey Mysterio, and Chris Jericho tearing it up and eliminating John Cena in about 90 seconds. The match completely reshuffled the deck right before Mania in a way that the earlier entries on this list weren't able to do. Unfortunately, the opening hand WrestleMania was dealt was not good, as WWE decided that we had seen the classic John Cena vs. Edge matches too many times, and what that match needed at Mania was Big Show! Regardless of how good the match could have been, there was nothing saving it when it went on directly after Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker's legendary Mania match. Cena can lift 700 pounds of human flesh all he wants, but the match leading up to that feat of Herculean strength put half the audience to sleep. Number 2 worst chamber match that led to a good WrestleMania match? Undertaker wins, faces Edge. The build for The Undertaker's WrestleMania 24 main event with Edge was superb and nearly a year long, so it's a shame that the final obstacle Taker had to overcome was so underwhelming. The positive of the 2008 SmackDown Elimination Chamber match was that Taker and Batista were able to continue their year-long rivalry, entering as the first two and lasting until the end. But unfortunately, the rest of the match was comprised of what happens when the big and tall section of a clothing store gains sentience and mid-carders Finlay and MVP. I love Finlay and MVP, but come on now, we both know they weren't winning. Once Taker had earned his shot by winning a mostly boring chamber match, what stood before him was his chance to finally have a good WrestleMania main event. Because you may not remember now, but back then The Undertaker's WrestleMania main event resume consisted entirely of Sid and his loaded pants. Shockingly, his match with Edge was a massive improvement. It may have gotten lost in the shuffle of the ensuing Taker WrestleMania matches with Shawn, Trips, and Punk, but at the time, there was a strong case to be made that this was Undertaker's best Mania match. Edge countered every one of Taker's most famous maneuvers, but ultimately fell victim to Taker's newest and most dangerous weapon, the Hell's Gate submission. Because damn right, the undead zombie wizard watches UFC. It was excellent storytelling and a fitting end to an awesome WrestleMania. Number 2 best chamber to lead to a terrible WrestleMania match? Triple H wins, faces Randy Orton. It's 11 o'clock. Do you know how your WrestleMania main event is going to be? We spoke earlier about No Way Out 2009's awesome Elimination Chamber doubleheader and WrestleMania's snooze fest of a follow-up. But now may I present to you the other 50% of the evidence to that point. The WWE Championship Chamber starts with a bang, with Edge losing in 3 minutes to ensure a new champion, then an epic showdown between Triple H and The Undertaker took the match across the finish line and then some. Some people may not have been very happy to see Triple H once again holding the title, especially so soon after a 7-month reign, but boy were those people ever justified when they saw the WrestleMania main event he had against Randy Orton just 7 weeks later. This brutally, painfully boring and unsatisfying match closed WrestleMania, leaving the fans with the lasting emotion of, that's it? I truly believe that if Taker and Shawn hadn't just had the match of the year, the Cena-Edge Big Show triple threat had a chance to be good. This match had no such chance. It doesn't matter what state the crowd was going to be in at the start, no one was going to like this match. Number 1 worst chamber that led to a good WrestleMania match? Bianca Belair wins, faces Becky Lynch. Maybe it was simply because everyone wanted to get out of Saudi Arabia as fast as possible, but the 2 Elimination Chamber matches at Elimination Chamber 2022 were by far the shortest and most rushed matches in the stipulation's history. Instead of the regularly paced 4-minute intervals in chamber matches, 2022's matches had just 90 seconds between entries, leading to Bianca Belair's chamber win taking about 15 minutes. It wasn't the best night for the chamber, made all the worse by such nonsense as Alexa Bliss's swing, but ultimately none of that mattered because we finally got the conclusion of Bianca Belair's journey back to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38. At the time, this was by far the best women's match in WrestleMania history. Complete with a superstar entrance, Bianca got to steal the show at WrestleMania in front of a packed house for the first time ever, warding off everyone's trepidation following her 22nd loss at SummerSlam. They played with that idea too, with Becky getting a near fall with the manhandle slam less than a minute in, but it didn't matter if it was a manhandle slam or a boot right to the eye. Nothing was stopping Bianca from walking out of WrestleMania as the women's champion and the top women's star in WWE. This match is so f***ing good. Do yourself a favor and go watch it again. And number 1 best chamber match to lead to a terrible WrestleMania match, Bray Wyatt wins, faces Randy Orton. There has never, ever been a bigger discrepancy between a fantastic Elimination Chamber match and its horrible WrestleMania follow-up than what SmackDown received in 2017. After the Intercontinental Chamber match forced the stipulation into a hiatus, we needed something amazing to wash that putrid taste from our mouths. Bray Wyatt winning his only WWE Championship was special. Even if it was very much telegraphed by Randy Orton's Royal Rumble win, Bray winning was still a new face on top, and he won it in the best match possible. Having AJ Styles at the height of his WWE powers in the match will do that for you. But then WrestleMania came around, and Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt had a boring bad match, and that was before the bug stuff started. It has been laughed into the WrestleCrap history books, but WWE really did have Bray Wyatt magically project maggots and roaches and worms, oh my, onto the ring as fans in attendance stopped making any noise as they witnessed the most bewildering moment in WrestleMania history. It is a shame this is how Bray Wyatt's title run had to end, because he and that Elimination Chamber win deserved so much better. And that's our list. Make sure, of course, that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a fun list just like it. And check out this clip from last week's list here. Seen our fair share of bumps and bruises, sprains and strains, broken bones, and torn ligaments. And hey, Rey Mysterio wasn't the only one to get hurt either. But every once in a while, WWE would open up their handy-dandy kayfabe injury generator and pick something a little more outside the box. Sometimes the results were good, and sometimes you get the other 8 entries on this list. Foreshadowing.